Arthaus.
All right, so this is Arthaus number 7. Today I have a very special guest, former UFC welterweight contender of the World Series of Fighters champion, and there was that one other one you got the belt in. Forgot.
MMA Mexico,
MMA Mexico
long time
champion,
ago, back in the
Jon
Wild West.
Jon Fitch. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good, really good.
Nice.
I
So
decided to dress up, dress
yeah,
up in
yeah. Finally
quarantine.
have an excuse to put on some clothes instead
Yeah,
of just sweatpants and wife beater.
mhm. Yeah, I need to do it. Need to dress up a little bit.
I've seen you've been you put out some videos for your train, just doing some quarantine
Mhm.
workouts. How's that
Yeah.
been going?
I just been having fun with that. Just giving little easy workouts people can do, something to change it up because it's gonna get stale for
Hmm.
some people doing the same stuff.
Yeah. Well, the one that really peaked to me was you had the water jug and you're doing
Mm,
the one arm rows, and I was like, that's so smart because you can just
yeah,
load it. You can load it as much as you need to.
yeah.
It's perfect. So, John, why don't you give a little insight on your career and how you got to this point now from being a scrappy guy in the octagon?
Man, so I just have always ran towards the fight, and before fighting was a thing, I was kind of already a fighter, and I found myself into wrestling because I was always looking to bash heads with people,
Hmm.
and I just wanted to try it out when it was time. There's fights out there. I just started going around with people and looking for them. We did what we called the Midwest certain circuit back in the day, where we would hear about a fight in another state, and we'd drive, and hopefully they'd find somebody to match us up. And we'd fight with them. uh, and then 17 and a half years later, I'm here, and I'm a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience in the sport. I've seen a lot. I've seen the sport change a lot. I've seen styles of fighting change. I've seen how the business aspect of the sport has affected things. Been around a while.
Yeah, yeah. Things have definitely exploded in many ways. Now, the thing that you're here to talk about is weight cutting, and weight
Mm.
cutting's a I don't want to say it's a controversial part of MMA, but it's unlike really
It
many other
is.
sports.
It is controversial because it's not really understood.
Yeah.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to people.
A lot of people don't understand, like,
Hmm.
if you're 170, why don't you just stay 170 and just train? Why are you cutting
Hmm.
down to that weight? Can you explain why people weight cut?
Yeah, the idea behind weight cutting is you want to be as light and as strong and athletic as possible for your weight class. So ideally, what you should be is in really great shape, and you should have very low body fat, and that should be good. But the guys will edge out a little bit more by cutting the water weight,
Hmm.
cutting the water weight is the controversial part. And I think a lot of guys they don't do the eating part right, so they don't get the body fat loss they should. And then when it comes to losing the extra little bit of water weight, they cut too much water weight, or they're eating the wrong things, and it's harder to lose the water. So then their body and their organs suffer from it.
Right. And if I'm understanding this properly, when they do the weigh in, right, they'll cut down to 155.
Hmm.
They'll do the thing, and then they come back and then they eat loads, they rehydrate, and then
Hmm.
you're fighting at like 175, 177, something like
Yeah,
that.
you put a good amount of weight back on before the fight again, and then again, there's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And I
Right.
think when people try to shortcut it, that's when things go bad. I think if you do it the correct way, it's almost, to me, it's like a ritualistic, like the samurai. The samurais had a special meal they ate before they went out to fight to the death. It's like
Right.
there's something to it there.
Right. Right. So in your context, right? You're coming from the MMA world. Can
Hmm.
people can use weight cutting techniques, even if they're not an MMA fighter. Is that true?
Well, the biggest part of the weight cut is the diet and the meal plan. And that's what I learned when I started doing the meal plan in 2016. Is when I won my World Series title.
Yeah.
When I started doing that, that's when everything clicked into place, and weight cut got really easy. And I put on muscle. I was bigger, stronger. I felt better. The weight cut was a lot easier to do. I had less sauna time the day of the weigh in. Everything was better because of the meal planning, meal prepping. Before that, I was kind of, you know, in the 2000s and before, I didn't know how to really eat well. I grew up in the Stone Age where there wasn't a lot of information. You had to go to
Right,
the
right,
you had to go to the library to look something up about diet, nutrition, or whatever. So
right.
there's a lot of misconceptions, a lot of microwave food and frozen food and
Yeah,
whatever, fast food.
yeah. A lot of
And
stuff like
then
that.
it wasn't until 2010 that I started even, looking at my diet seriously.
Hmm.
And then that's when I started toying with veganism, and that was a disaster. And then I came back to eating meat, and then I found my way into the meal plan, and that's like through the whole gauntlet of things that I've been through, that's by far the absolute best way to go about eating.
So, what are some things that you outline in your new book? What are some things that people can do at home to help alleviate this suffering that would come with this cutting, and instead make it a bit smoother and get the results to come in.
Well, I mean, it really comes down to discipline. You've got to have discipline. You need to just set your schedule and stick
Mhm.
to it. And that's why the meal plan works well, is because you know what you're going to eat when you're going to eat it.
Mhm.
Everything's timed. You can set your watch and your timer to it. You should bring your meals with you. Like there's times when I had to pick up my kids at the time it was time for a meal. So I would bring my chicken with me in the truck, and I'm eating the chicken in the truck while I go to pick up my kids. That's just that's just meal time. So
Yeah.
when you structure your meals like that, then you don't have time to snack. You don't have time to forget, oh, what do I want to eat for lunch today? Or what do I want to eat this time? And you end up
It's
getting
just
super
done.
hungry. Then you eat too much, eat the wrong thing. You've got your food there. You know what you're going to eat. You've got your portion. So you know how much you're going to eat. It's
So how
just,
does how does the process work? Do you start with a certain number of calories and you slowly work down?
I don't work with calories.
Okay,
I
that's
basically explain what I eat in the book for my body size, and
mhm,
people can adjust from there.
yeah.
But I mean, my main focus is protein, carbs, and vegetables.
Mhm.
Right. So, um, as long as I'm hitting those, I'm pretty good.
So you're basing
Right.
more around like food groups and principles rather than hard numbers.
Yeah, I'm not overly scientific about macros and micros and calorie intake. Right.
Mhm,
Like my protein intake is eight ounces. So
mhm.
that's what I'm eating when I'm maintaining my weight at 200 pounds.
Right.
And I'm doing the work. So if you're 150 pounds, you can start off with maybe 3 ounces, 4 ounces for
Mhm.
your meals, and see how you go from there. Maybe you're too hungry, maybe you're losing too much weight. You can play with that, but I'm not counting calories that much.
Right, right. And this process, you said, does it take 8 weeks? You say?
You need 4 to 6 weeks at least
Okay.
before you start the weight cutting process, before you start any restriction on your protein and carbs.
Okay. So there's time before
So,
you.
well, if you're just a regular person and
Right.
you want to eat better and you want to follow this plan, like I follow it all year round,
Mhm.
right? I just have a little more playroom with my cheat meals
Right.
because I'm not as strict right now as I would be if I was training for a fight. But like I basically stick to the same meal plan year round.
Interesting. So it's something feasible for someone who
Anybody,
can.
yeah. You
Okay.
can just switch up your protein, switch up your protein, switch up your carbs, switch up your vegetables.
So this isn't some like thing that you get on, you feel really shitty, you cut really low, and then you get off and you want to binge. It's like a
Mm.
very it's a slow adjustment.
Yeah, and my recommendation is that you don't even get a cheat meal at all until you've been 100% on point with your meal plan for 3 weeks.
Yeah, you don't want to reward
Mm.
sloppiness and whatnot.
And you need your body to adjust. Your body will adjust to the times you're eating, it'll adjust to the portions, and it will adjust to the foods that you're eating. Like your body gets really good at if you like chicken and your main protein is chicken, and most of the time you're eating chicken, your body gets really good at breaking down chicken and absorbing chicken.
Right.
It's funny how that works.
Do you think that this knowledge is your goal to make this knowledge more mainstream
A
for
little bit. To
fighters?
me, I think they overcomplicate things. They go way into, oh, your blood type. They go into your race, where you grew up. All these. It
Yeah.
gets a lot easier than that. I think because it's very baseline. Like I list some proteins. You have choices on proteins. It's not like you have to eat red meat. Like you can. There's different fishes and there's different types of proteins. Like I'm recommending a certain amount of protein because that's what's working for me.
Hmm.
Same thing with vegetables. I happen to like broccoli. You might like something else. You might want to eat more carrots.
Yeah.
The idea is, as long as you're getting some type of consistent amount of vegetables in there, and you always have supplementation is always an option for people too.
Right. Well, and the thing is, like, I think something like this is really key because for normal people, it'll help them get on a system that'll help them lose body fat, lose that weight they finally want, and then also for amateur fighters and whatnot, you won't have instances like when Connor did that 135 cut, when Kevin Lee tries this shit and he always ends up missing it, getting really gaunt, trying to sauna the 18 pounds in one day.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys I think who are getting advice on cutting weight from people who've never cut weight before.
Yeah.
So the other thing with the meal plan is that it's so consistent. Like your body weight and your workouts and everything becomes consistent. So like how much weight you lost in that sweat, how much you just sweated out. Like you'll know how much you put on after each meal, because I keep a scale in my kitchen, so like I'm
Right.
always checking weight. So like you'll start to know, like, if I eat this is going to happen. And then when you get your cheat meal on the weekend, if you eat too many carbs, you'll blow up a little bit. You'll understand why. So everything is much more predictable. It's very predictable. And then fight week, when you start reducing, about 2 weeks out from fight week, you start reducing protein.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll start bringing your body weight down a little bit more naturally. And then when you get to fight week, you'll cut the carbs.
Completely.
Yep.
So you don't want to blow up at all and hold
Because
any
you're not
calories.
doing any hard output at all.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing any hard output that week. You're doing light work. You're doing a little bit of training with your coaches, um, making sure your timing's on, feeling good.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not needing that ATP. You're not needing that extra little bit of energy stored. So I cut the carbs, and then I start coming down my weight a little bit more, and I'll be within 8 pounds to 10 pounds the night before weigh-ins, and then I'll start my weight cut.
Nice.
And then it's a pretty simple weight cut. What I'm doing is like a half hour worth of work, and then some other stuff I do to sweat. But I'll get down low enough to where I'll get dinner night before weigh-ins.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be small, but I'll get to eat something.
Gotcha. Okay. So
And
you
then now
want
they
to
do
starve
now
yourself.
they yeah. So I'm not starving myself. I mean, I'm still going to get something to eat. And then in the morning, I'll either wake up on weight, or I'll have, the most I had was 2 pounds to lose in the morning before. And that's just a little bit of time. It's about an hour in the sauna.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Well, I bet those techniques, I bet somebody even unathletic can just use the same principles that you're doing to help them lose some body fat
Mm-hmm.
and get
Yeah.
stronger.
I mean, they just have to copy it, make a little bit of adjustments,
Mm-hmm.
but there's some wiggle room in there.
So, John,
Yeah.
can you give some insight on where people can find your book?
So it's available it's the Weight Cut Bible right there. It's my sample that I have already. It's available on Amazon and Kindle and paperback. It's a short book. I actually put a free chapter of my other book, Failing Upward, Death by Ego, in the back to kind of round it out, so I could also have a paperback.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's only like $2.99 Kindle, $5.99 on the paperback. So I made it affordable. Hopefully a lot of people will get to look at it and see it. Even if you don't want to cut weight, it can help you maintain a good body weight. good body composition, and then it can benefit fighters quite a bit, I think.
Well, for $3 or $6, that's pretty freaking great.
I try to make it entertaining too. So hopefully, if you guys are bored, you could buy it and just get a laugh at a couple of the things I put in there.
Well, John, it was great talking to you. I learned a lot about weight cutting, and I hope you guys learned a lot too. And I'm definitely gonna be implementing some of this stuff when bulk season's over for me after this quarantine. I'm gonna implement some of the stuff. So, thanks, John. Do you want to leave where people can find you on the social medias and the interwebs?
Well, just go to jonfitch.net. You can find everything there. Sign up for the newsletter, and you can get updates about what I'm doing.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Arthaus number 7. We are leaving, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take it easy.